So we're trying to build a culture of accountability based off of, like I said, raw, easy to read KPIs. And as we get to certain levels, yeah, there may be some requirements, some extra requirements. But I want you to know whether you had a good day or a bad day, a good week or a bad week, without anybody having to rub your nose in.
Welcome to the Lead In podcast, where we dive deep into genuine stories of leaders who've seized control of their journey. This podcast is brought to you by Lead Hub, your growth partner for the trades. And now, let me kick it over to our guy, Austin Lenny.
We got him back. Mr. Matty Marshall here. A little words for the word. But, the question, you were telling me a story beforehand, when is too early to give your kids NyQuil? I think that's the...
That's fair. Yeah, I'd say the perfect time is right at bath time. So you get about an hour for everything to kick in. And, he's on the chapter books now. So we just whip out Harry Potter and he'll be asleep in no time.
God. I was just telling my previous guest, his dad started a business when he was a kid. 2 weeks into me being CEO of the small business, I called my father and I go, You did this for 44 years? Like, you started a business and you took us to school and we had sports and you did this. Like, willingly. And I just went, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't know.
I didn't know. I'm so sorry. The full circle moment is amazing. So on that vein, what I am fixated on right now is energy, kind of how an owner portrays himself. Let me give you as his example in real time. So my guys like to mess around a lot, especially being from the country. And so there's some things. I had a 40-foot trailer. I was backing up to load up some material this morning with my truck. And it was early in the morning, and let's just say I wasn't firing on all cylinders. So it looked a little wonky. And then, like all of them are out there and they're like, hey, boss, like, I thought you were from Texas. Did you not learn how, but somebody could take, we're joking. I said, I'm going to file a formal complaint with HR. Mm-hmm. But when I left, I thought to myself, the only way they would feel comfortable doing that, messing with me, is if we had a good relationship. Mm-hmm. And so it's an amazing takeaway because, I don't want to be the boss that's feared, but I don't want to be their best friend either, but I want to be somebody that you can have a relationship with.
Yeah, I think it's setting boundaries, right? So I'm a younger guy, and I have people who I work with. We never say work for, right? We always work together. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So who I work with that are older than me, right, are more experienced. And I've told every single person that I've hired or when we came on board is we're going to build our relationship and the foundation of this company off one key principle. It's just respect. We're going to respect every single thing that everybody has to do. And if we become friends off of that or off the clock, or you're friends with the dispatcher off the clock, that's great. But we're not going to let our friendships dictate the business. And so, I think having a healthy, I wouldn't say fear, but respect kind of can elicit a little bit of fear, right? Mm-hmm. I better come to this guy correct because I respect him and I don't want to be wrong. I think to your point, just lets everybody know what the basis is and where the line is also. So you don't have to, as the owner, you don't have to cross it and say, hey, hold on. No. We don't talk that way. They know where it is, and they know the trailer incident. They know what language they're going to use with you. Their boy be a little different, right? But they know where the line is. You've created that line subtly. Yeah. But you got to get people to work with you. They can't work against you.
And so much of what is done as an owner or CEO of a company is unspoken mannerisms, but unspoken especially in the trade industry, right? It's I find most of the viewpoints to be so antiquated and out of date. We're in a new world where the 20-year-old employee and the 60-year-old employee, they want two totally different things, and they came from two totally different generations too. How do you navigate that and understand that as somebody in charge?
I think what I found to be kind of the great equalizer is time. is time spent. Everybody wants to be in front of the person that's making decisions for them. And I think that's how you can kind of get everybody on a level playing field. But you're right. 60-year-olds want different things than 20-year-olds. 60-year-olds want time off, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want, but also know at the same time, I'm getting paid, right? Because
Yes.
you offer them a day off, they're going to say, no, boss, I want to work, right?
Yeah.
So we compliment them by saying, hey, you worked really hard today, or hey, you've had a really good week. Why don't you take the 4 hours off? It's on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we give the 20-year-old the concept of control over their time, right? Hey, you're the one that can run ragged if we need you to. You can run 10 hours, 12 hours. You've proven that. But if you can get it done in 6, I'll work you 6. Or if you want more, I'll give you more. Mm-hmm. Right. So kind of giving them that control has helped us with the younger crowd, because I've tried to give I call him my superstar, right? He's 22, 23 years old. I've tried to give him the days off. He doesn't want it. He's like, no, boss, I want to run 6. I want to run 7 days a week. Right.
No.
So what we do is just, you got to control it.
We got a young killer on our team, and he's having a baby at the end of the year. And I said, well, until that time, we're going to work. We're busy, and we're going to work you. I said, you're going to have more diapers. You're going to be able to afford more diapers. And he was like, whatever you need.
Yep.
And one of the things I came up with a year and a half ago was it's never been more prevalent to do leadership through the generations. Mm-hmm. Right. And you have to understand where everybody came from. Look, if you're 50 and up, you do not need a rah-rah speech from me. and nope. If I give it to you, if I give it to them, they're going to feel like it's inauthentic.
Fair.
And if you're 20 or you're 18 or you're 19, 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you to stop beating yourself up. And sometimes you need a little swift kick in the you know what.
Yeah. And we've had that conversation a couple of times with our younger guy, just saying, hey, you're a leader, right? Whether you like it or not, we've identified you from the leadership circle as a leader out in the field. And that may be a lot of pressure for you. And not as bluntly as I'm about to come up with, do you want it? There's certain questions you can ask to figure out if they want that, right? And for our guy, he's spoken to us and saying, hey, you're right, I need to be reined back in, right? If y'all see me starting to get complacent, if you see me not doing what I'm supposed to, can you just let me know? And he is one of those guys that, he gets mad. 23.
And he said that to you? That's amazing.
In so many words. Yeah, in so many words.
That's but so good.
He knows what he wants, but also, you know this from seeing it. When you come in and you provide people, we can call it with a better life, but let's call it what it is. You're giving them the opportunity to make more money.
Yes.
And so he's doubled his income this year over last year. So what's he going to balk at? Because proof's in the pudding. And you're like, I'm sorry if it comes off as rude or stern, but this way is working for you. It doesn't work for everybody, but this way is working for you. So if you want to make adjustments, we can, but I think we should probably keep with it until it doesn't work anymore.
It's so wild to me because we're starting to hire sales guys. Not at first. We give them a pay till they get their feet underneath them. But we're starting to pay commission 100%. They get huge rips, And if I was young, like I would want a ceiling. And it's so crazy to me because it just puts them in a different mindset. Like he's like, do you mind if I go out on Saturday and like cold call? And I was like, excuse me? I was like, do you want to get married? Like what is going on right now? Like, but for me, like, man, I would have loved that opportunity at like 2021, no cap, and just go crazy, dude. That would be so cool.
Yeah, and to have the opportunities that I know that you're bringing in, right? Because you and I are very similar in, I wouldn't say our marketing and advertising approach, but what we're trying to get to the technician, right? Qualified lead who has their questions answered, but they're a fan of the company first and foremost, right? The rest of it comes in time. And if you can show this guy, hey, I'll give you the good opportunities if you just do what we're asking you to do, whether they're 23 or 63, right? If they get it, they're going to say, yes, boss.
Well, the number one thing I say in an interview when I'm recruiting is there are no hierarchy in the company if you have the right attitude and you work hard. You don't have to wait 10 years. If you're going to show me what you're doing, you're going to be in a van first. You're going to be on deck to be a sales guy. You're going to be on deck to be a manager, maybe a regional manager. There is no, like, just because you've been here for 20 years, like, those guys have a place in the company if their attitude's right too. That's what I think we need to get away from as owners and bosses.
And I think too, like, there's a reason why they're in that position or in that field for the past 20 years, right? Either they had the opportunity and let it slip by, they had the opportunity, didn't want it, right? And you can't force people. It's that whole square peg, round hole. You can't force people to be something either A, they don't have the aptitude to be, or don't want to be, because you're just spinning your wheels. And that time may be better suited for somebody who's 23, 24, right? And it may take longer, but that was my journey. I came into a company and I had a boss who identified me, and he said, I'm not giving it to you. You're going to have to earn it. But he laid out, like, this is what I need from you. And whether it's a year or 3 years, it took me 4, right? This is what I have to feel comfortable with to give you this opportunity or role, And I think it's true anywhere in the trades. Technician, sales, sales manager, comfort advisor. Give them a list of rules. Identify it as a business owner. Don't overcrowd your KPIs, right? Time on call, estimate conversion rate, average ticket. Those are our big 3, right? Everything else spawns off of that, right? But if I can trust you to spend the right amount of time on the call, that helps dispatch out, helps me out, then I can measure how many calls a day you need, true conversion rate, to know if we can keep up, right? And then average 1, right? Because your best salesman, it's easy to come down $2,500, right? It's not easy when the business needs some cash, right, to sit there and sell it at the clip that you need to sell it at. So,
and I think at the end of the day, while you were saying all that, I was thinking about your relationship with your significant other, right, and all these things, right, and honestly, everything that we're talking about right now is not easier for us, but doable for us because we've spent time working on ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you're an owner and you're not getting out what you want for the team and you're constantly complaining about what your team's not doing, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it might be you the one that needs some changing.
What's it? The 3 fingers? I always will check because I can't remember if the thumb points back at you, right? So you point your finger, you got 3 point right back at you. And you're right, but having a good significant other to balance you, I have ideas, and one day she looked at me and she goes, "You're not the rah-rah guy." She goes, "You're silent and you're calculated. So that would be out." She goes, "If you came home, that would be out of character." And I've known you for 14 years, right?
Yeah.
So I think going back to one of your first points is not acting out of character as a leader or owner or CEO. Because that's when people start to get worried, even if it's with the best intentions, right? If I came into Right Services today, the sweetest, nicest, not that I don't have my uplifting moments, but like overly forced, they'd look at me like something was wrong, right? Like, wait, hold on. Because I speak mine through numbers, right? Like, hey, great job this week. This is how we identified it. That way there's no misconception, you know what I mean? Because I have a stern face, and so I would not work
well. I would not work well for you. I would not work well for you, and I know that about myself because I'm older now. But it doesn't mean that you're not a great boss. It's that secretly, I do need the rah. I like to roll. I like to get crazy. I told my sales guys the other day, I love them to death. I really do. They're the best at what they do. But they're very pragmatic in their delivery. They don't agree to anything until it's just how they do. And I say, guys, do you know how much work it is to unearth new business? I was like, could you, just for shits and grins, like give the boss the day? Like, could you be like, hey, boss, super excited about this new opportunity. I'm going to look into it for you. Instead of like, I don't know if we're going to bid on it. And I was just being as honest as I could. Like, I like to stay on the positive realm, but what I've learned, because my old podcast host was similar to you, it's easier to be positive when you know your numbers. I live in this sometimes I live in this world where it's like just more business, more everything. And they're like, yes. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But like we have constraints around capacity, knowledge. But if you know your capacity, you know your knowledge, then you can go out and sell even more confidently.
Or if you have somebody that offsets you too. Like the guy who's running my day-to-day right now, exact opposite. He can't be deterred, right? Now we have to show him certain things, but like he's the most calm, cool, collected. He's been a sales guy, right? He knows what works. We tried the like good cop, bad cop, but I
Yeah.
got to be good cop for once.
Yes.
It just, for both of us, it was out of character,
Okay.
you know? And so I can't come in like a hard ass every day, and he can't be a softie every day. But you start the business, right? Because it's its own entity. It starts to take notice of who's what and who's playing what role.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you also, to your point, like you got to find somebody who offsets your leaders, right? Because it's not just one person. It's usually 2 or 3 people there, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, who are leading the charge on the day to day.
And I think that you have such a will to be successful, not for you, but for just the overall, culture and company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know where you're headed, that sometimes that can come off as I don't care, but it's like you're just so into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you're like, hey guys, this is like, I know that you think like when when us owners like have a good quarter, you think that we're riding around in Bentleys and stuff. Yeah, it's the farthest from the truth. We're the last ones to get paid.
Right.
And so I'm really doing it for you, but it might come off that I'm like just super driven, but it's like at the end of the day, like that's why I'm so, my urgency is so high. I want to make sure that everybody's making the most money they can ever make.
Yeah, and I want people to have freedom, right? Because that was something we talked about in our last session. Like I came from, there's the illusion of freedom in the service industry, but it's really not, right? Like you kind of just go, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm free. Like you're not. You have to go ask permission to use the bathroom. You don't get to eat when you want to eat. You don't get to take a break. So for this, like I don't want guys where after every call, what happened, right? So we're trying to build a culture of accountability based off of, like I said, raw, easy to read KPIs. And as we get to certain levels, yeah, there may be some requirements, some extra requirements, but I want you to know whether you had a good day or a bad day, a good week or a bad week, without anybody having to rub your nose in it. Because what I've found with technicians is, and installers for that matter, if they have too many go backs, is there's this huge wave, and there's very little that we as business owners can do, but we can help the extremes, right? I used to tell our guys, I can live with 82%. If I know that's what I'm getting, I can live with that. I can't live with 96 down to 62. Like I can't do that, right? That's a C average. I can't do this, right? But let's just make it a little softer, make the waves a little bit softer. And I think a lot of that comes from them feeling like they're in control, because if you look at a technician's world, there's not a lot that they can really control, right? There's a dispatcher screaming at them, hey, you got to go here. Hey, you got to go here. Hey, did you order this part? There's the service manager. Hey, when are we getting this rescheduled? Hey, your time on call is a little bit higher, right? There's the owner trying to drive the business. There's a GM trying to, implement certain things. There's so much going on in their head. And for me, if I can take a little piece of that out, right? So there's not so many people that they think are yelling at them, or on to them or watching them. Maybe that creates just a little bit more freedom.
I've never thought about that until you just said it that way. Because I was thinking about something different. I think that owners have it twisted, right? And what I realized this morning, and I've realized it for a while, but it really hit this morning. What your team needs from you as an owner or leader in a company is presence. Okay? And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean that you have to talk to everybody. It doesn't mean that you have to be, in every meeting. But you just being there provides stability in their minds. Like
100%.
seeing, like I've been gone for like 4 days because I was out, I've been gone for like 5 days because I was out last week. Like just being there for like an hour and just them seeing me, like, okay, cool. Boss is here. He didn't leave. Like Ryan's out of town right now. Like what I try to do is I never try to have Ryan and I away together for that long of a time. One of us needs to be there. It's just a presence. It's just comfort. It's just stability.
And it's them knowing that, because everybody wants your time. That's coming back to like me thinking, how did certain people do this at bigger companies? Because there's hell, 18 of us, and every
Yeah.
time I walk in, I feel like all 18 have something that they want to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's, what do people genuinely want? Like you just said, they want to be heard. It doesn't mean that I have to spend an hour on their problem. Sometimes they just want to know that they're right, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
correct. It's your presence, and it's creating a culture where people feel safe, and that's something that we talk about a lot. This doesn't mean we're going to be pushovers, but you're going to feel safe, you're going to feel cared for, and you're going to be loved here. That's it. Those are the three things that I want you to be, because like you said earlier, if you're those three things and you're easy to work with, there's something here for you. I don't know what it is, but there's something, and there will always be something for you here if you can live by those principles.
And back to your previous point, one of the things that changed my life as a leader is not having. Okay, let's say that you have an employee who's very quiet, who doesn't talk a lot. Me needing to get them to talk to me is for me, not them.
Mm-hmm.
And so now okay, you're quiet. You don't want to talk that much. Cool. Like one of our guys who didn't speak to me for like a year is now one of our best leaders and talks all the time. Like, he just had to grow into that, but I didn't need him to talk to me. Like I have a guy that works for me. I'm not, look, you say whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you think. Like, he doesn't like to talk to people. He's just not that type of guy. He works on a job he doesn't have to go into the office for. I haven't seen him in like 4 months. He shows up every day. We've talked like twice through text. He shows up every day, works 8 hours a day, does amazing work. Why do I need him to be anything he isn't?
And grow into a role that maybe they're not suited for.
Yeah.
You know,
you should want this. Well, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, my wife and my brother are two of these. My brother played D1 basketball. My wife played Division II soccer, both team captains. Right. So you think they just have it to lead. You know their jobs now? They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to but there's some of those brilliant people. Yeah. Right. But there are people there that just tell me what I want to do, because I have a life outside of this. And when you have people like that, you got to identify it and know you need A and B players, but you also need people who just go get things done. And that's what both of them do. Give me a task, boss. And that's kind of the sport mentality, right? What's my role? Got it. Done. Right.
There's a podcast that just came out you're going to be obsessed with called The Glue Guys. Okay. Alex Smith, Shane Battier, and the guy that led the IPO. There's 3 podcasts out. The first one's about leadership, and they give you behind the scenes stories about Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, just crazy stuff. I just halfway through the second one, they're talking about team. I got to tell you a stat, craziest stat ever. So Shane Battier has done a bunch of talks for Google, so he's got inside information. Since Google tracked data, leadership has been Googled 92% and above every year. Every year it's been Googled. Wait for it. Teammate, 1%.
Wow. It's eye-opening.
And so they talk about how to be a good teammate, what it means. And what he talks about, Alex Smith, he's wearing the shirt of a guy who was undrafted, who only played on special teams. And he said that was the best leader on the entire team.
Because they're willing to do everything in a team aspect. That person, like to say on special teams, that's a job nobody wants, right? But you and I know, we watch enough football. Special teams will make or break a game, right? And if you have one guy, I mean, I'm a Saints guy, so Taysom Hill, right? He's on every special teams unit and then go plays offense too. But he's the guy, when they need a big play, he's going to bring it. And if he's bringing it every time like this, there's no other reason. There's no other excuse, right? Because that's their audition. I'm a big statistic guy, and that one's crazy to me. Everybody wants to be a leader.
Dude, I tell you what, I'm not saying he was my favorite person, but my old baseball coach in high school had a great quote. He goes, everybody wants to be a chief, nobody wants to be an Indian. He said, we got way too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Look, you know how much you can learn by coming on and doing your job with a group of people, talented people, and learn a couple years. And, I was talking to a guy today 30 years old. The first ever investment he bought at 23 years old was he went to go buy a 20 unit, and the broker goes, "Hey, so the entire family wants to sell out of the real estate. They have 13 different properties. Do you want to buy all of them?" And he was like, sure. And so he just said yes. And so he figured $15 million raise. And he didn't make a ton of money. He brought in partners that could raise the money and everything. But he goes, Austin, that deal, he goes, I made on my fee up front, I made my entire year's salary in one deal. He goes, I also then bought 7 other deals because of that. He goes, everybody says, oh, you got screwed over on the deal. And he goes, it changed my entire life. And that's what people don't understand. They're so worried about the short-term benefits or what they're going to get out of it instead of just being there to learn.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the evolution of Right Services right now. So we have a lot of people who were in it during the bad time, right? And we've grown, and we still have every day is a challenge. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to live and breathe with what comes through on that sales funnel, right? That's just that's the nature of this industry that we're in. But as I say, if we can be more calculated and set goals, the stress level doesn't mean it's not there. The stress level just goes down. You know what I mean? Because you said it earlier about, revenue, right? Just go out there and sell. Sometimes you can't outsell your problems, right? If you got operational issues. And we had operational issues, and we still have sales issues, right? That we need to clean up and get through. But the operational challenges far surpassed what our sales challenges were, and getting a team together that understands, like you said, the true importance of everybody playing their part. It takes Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, I'm forgetting y'all's boy, Bill Parcells, right? Like, who are willing to go in there and lead and be fiery when they need to be, or talk to people outside the industry or outside the business, right? Say the media a certain way to fire the rest of their team up, but they all respected him, right? I haven't heard one person talk ill about Bill Belichick as a leader. They may not have agreed with his principles or how he did things, but they agree with their results. And I'm a big Saban guy. Saban's the same thing. I don't know if anybody's listened to him.
Tells a story. He tells a story about Urban Meyer. He tells a story about Urban Meyer. He said Urban Meyer, in the first 6 months of coming into a business or a new opportunity, he said you will hate his guts. He said he's going to put you on blast because he's trying to make sure that everybody in that building is rowing in the same direction. The people that don't, he's going to get them off the boat.
Yep. He's I still think back to, and it's hard. That's why everybody practices, a certain business or lifestyle, because it's hard to just, hey, Austin, this is how I live. It's going to work for you too. But Bill Belichick sitting there, I can't remember who it was. I think it was like South Florida 2 or 3 years ago. It was somebody that they should have been drilling at halftime, and it was a tie ball game. And they put the mic in Saban's face, which I think is always the worst idea in college football, because those guys are fiery and they haven't slept, right? They're doing something they shouldn't do. Let's go down to Austin with the interview, and more power to them for not just keeping on running, right? I'm sure it's contractual. But he says, if we just do what we're supposed to do, we'd be up by 40. And they said, what's the message to your team? He goes, it's the Nick Saban line, right? Trust the process and just do your job. That's my message, right? To your point, it's not rah-rah. It's not fiery. He went in that locker room and said, you're better than this. Go do your job, and the results come after.
Yeah.
And having that clarity as a leader to know your way works, and it's just on the people to go do it. I mean, that's, while it's stressful, also has to be a little freeing.
The most important thing for you and I, and something I'm working on daily, is I'm realizing that my personal health is the stir that makes this thing go around. If I am not healthy and taken care of, then I can't be the energy that is needed, because I have no problem telling you that this takes a lot out of me. It is a lot. Especially at the rate we're growing, especially everybody bringing on new people. And so I'm realizing that my personal health and my downtime is like literally number one.
Absolutely. I have a hard rule with my people, and it's I am turning it off at 6:30. And if it's an emergency, call me, Slack me, whatever.
Mhm.
But I owe it to my wife and my kid to be the best version of myself. And my kid's 6, right? And he takes a lot of energy too. But I can't be so drained that, when he comes home and he's ready, I'm just sitting there with my head buried in my phone, not paying attention to him. So I need other leaders in the company or companies, right, that we work with to make it to where all of the things outside of 6:30, outside of a car crash, right, somebody falling through a ceiling, something on job related, is wrapped up and tied up by 6:30. Doesn't mean that things don't come through past then. Doesn't mean that we're not going to answer the phone, but they have enough leeway to know, hey, can this wait till tomorrow, or can I solve it by myself? Because you're right. What gives me energy is pouring into those two.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You'll know if I had a bad day or if I'm in a bad mood if I didn't get to spend time with them the previous day.
Sure.
That's my recharge, and that's something I hold very close to me.
And I think one of the coolest things is what I've done, and this takes a lot of personal responsibility, is sometimes I don't answer the question, and then they figure it out for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember I had a boss who once said, I was asking them, it's a friend of ours, right? I was asking them a question, and he looks up at me and he goes, "Are you giving me this work?" And I sat there. It wasn't. It didn't come off that way. I don't know the intent behind it, but I didn't receive it that way. I didn't receive it as I just received it as, that's a good question. No, I'm sorry. And he just kind of looked at me and goes, "Tag me in if you need my help." I said, "Got it." And so I just went back, right? But that's a good thing. That's a great point you bring up, with no, you don't just get to assign me more work. That actually needs to be the other way around, right?
Yeah. Because if you assign me that, look, I have a rule. It's very simple. I don't even know how I came up with it. I will allow you the freedom to execute on everything. But if it gets to my desk, I'm owning it all the way through. And you are removed from the situation until it's corrected. Whether that be a 1-star review, an issue with the customer or vendor, you have full latitude to do whatever. But if it gets to me, I'm going to own it. So don't let it get to me.
And it's a great way to figure out whether people want more or don't want more, right?
No, it's my sales manager. He's like, "Hey, I sold this thing. They needed this, so I gave them the discount. This is why I did it." Boom, perfect. You just answered a perfect question. Let's do that.
Thumbs up.
Do that over and over again, and we're good to go. So people want to reach out to you. They want to find out about you. How would they do that?
Really just through LinkedIn. Matty Marshall is a great way to look me up on LinkedIn. I'm not very present on Twitter or X now. Also Facebook, Matty Marshall. And then Instagram is Matty_Marshall 7. Or go to writeac.com and you can find out more about Write AC services.
Love it. Guys, if you got some value from this, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Folks, if you made it to the end of the episode, I'm sure you found some value with what you're listening to. If you could send this to a friend, rate us and review us, share us around. The more that you share us, the more that we can share content with you. Thank you all so much for your time and listening, and we'll see you next time.